Once upon a time, the NBA scoring record seemed impossible to break, but destiny had other plans.
With the first pick in the 2003 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select LeBron James.
As soon as he came into the league, LeBron made sure everyone knew he was special, but little did we know he would become one of the NBA's immortals. Besides the scoring record, he's also the leader in multiple different categories. LeBron has 1,171 games in which he scored 20-plus points, and leads the league in the most playoffs points ever, 7,631, most playoff wins at 174, and most playoff games played at 266. On top of that, he's the only guy ever to record 30,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 10,000 assists, which is a crazy achievement by itself, and shows why he's considered one of the best all-around players to ever grace the court. However, when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar set the record at 38,387 points, it looked unbreakable until LeBron showed up. Once James hangs it up and leaves the new record for grabs, will there be another chosen one that could potentially take over the scoring throne and do the impossible? The NBA has been officially counting players' points since its beginning, so it probably sounds crazy that the first scoring record was set at only 7,021. Joe Fulks was the proud owner of this at that time. Very big achievement, but would go on to have his name at the top of the NBA scoring list for only a few seasons after his retirement. George Mikan came onto the scene, becoming the first player to record over 10,000 points in the league, which was an important milestone for the NBA at that time. 2 seasons later, Dolph Schayes broke his record and went up the ladder all the way to 18,438 points. As we all know, the NBA is where amazing happens, so that didn't last long. Bob Pettit went on to score 20,880 points, and his reign would end by none other than Wilt Chamberlain, who raised the standards, being the first one over the 30K mark with his 31,419 points. A decade later, the famous skyhook was seen on the court over and over again, all the way up to 38,387 points, which seemed impossible to reach by anyone in the league. The NBA witnessed phenomenal scorers like Jordan, Iverson, Carmelo Anthony, Tracy McGrady, Kobe Bryant, and Kevin Durant, but none of them could actually touch it. Only the kid from Akron managed to accomplish what no other players before him could, and that's to make Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's name second on the all-time scoring list. But how did he actually do that? Well, the big part of his achievement lies in the fact he entered the league at the age of 18, which gave him an advantage over many others who played at least a year of college basketball. In addition to that, LeBron was immediately a first option on his team, which also allowed him to record big numbers since game 1 of his career. However, we're not taking anything away from James. Quite the opposite, it takes an unbelievable passion, discipline, and love for the game to stay in the league for 2 decades, let alone play at the level he's been playing. It's safe to say we haven't witnessed anything similar in any sport on the planet. If we compare LeBron's father time with Ronaldo or Messi, it's obvious they've experienced a much bigger decline than him, despite still being respectable players. From his first days as a Cavalier until his current stint with the Lakers, LeBron has been averaging 27.2 points, which is just crazy given his age. For instance, Karl Malone, who's third on the list with 36,928 points, wasn't exactly the mailman in his later years as he was in his prime, while LeBron is still going strong, being the main facilitator for the Lakers. Kobe's journey was also very different from his early years, tainted by many injuries that would prevent him from seriously contending for one last title. Dirk was also touched by father time and would have to adjust his game due to lack of speed and agility. It could be said that only Jordan was able to remain the similar kind of offensive threat deep into his 30s, but it was visible he didn't have the same burning desire wearing the Wizards jersey. He would erupt in some games, but that was more of a personal vendetta against some of the opponent's players, rather than chasing another championship. LeBron's discipline and commitment to the game are unparalleled, so even the all-time legends didn't have what it takes to stretch their careers long enough to even touch the scoring record. Among the currently active NBA players, there's literally nobody who can threaten LeBron's first place that's only going north after every Lakers game. For perspective, the closest one is Kevin Durant with 27,481 points, but at the age of 35, that ship has sailed. Even the young guys like Trae Young, Luka, Ja Morant, and others are theoretically way far behind to catch up to LeBron. LeBron, so the record seems to be untouchable for the unforeseeable future. It will take a player who can start his career very young, score right away, and play at the highest level for about 2 decades just to try to break LeBron's record, which is, by the way, still going up. Now, we have another all-time record that's still going up, but this time, it's not LeBron who's behind it. The setup for this record started all the way back in 1967, November 13th to be exact. The Indiana Pacers were losing to the Dallas Chaparrals 118-116, with only 1 second remaining. Jerry Harkness received the inbound pass and threw a Hail Mary from 92 feet, banking in the shot. Everybody's hands went up in the air, celebrating that they've managed to tie the game and secure an overtime. It was the first season of the three-point line, so it was still to be ingrained into people's minds. It took the referee to approach Indiana's players, tell them about their victory, and stop them from preparing for the overtime. Ever since then, the three-point shooting has been evolving into an irreplaceable basketball element, and it's practically impossible to enter the league as a guard without having a consistent jump shot. There are exceptions like Ben Simmons or Rajon Rondo, but their other skills compensated for the lack of range. Three-point shooting is an invaluable asset to have, especially in the modern era, and one man deserves a lot of credit for that.
The Golden State Warriors select Stephen Curry.
When Steph Curry entered the league, everyone knew he could cook due to his amazing highlights from Davidson College. However, if you told anyone that guy would go on to become the greatest shooter to ever live, they'd probably give you 1 or 2 awkward looks. What's crazy is that Minnesota passed twice on picking him, selecting Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn before Curry. They were both respectable players, but come on, that was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, and they blew it. Curry would go on to have a slower start due to sharing the spotlight with Monta Ellis, who was still considered an elite guard in the league. But as he was aging, the Warriors office had a decision to make and went on to keep Curry and pair him with later picks Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Once Steph fixed his hip problems that were causing him ankle injuries, his rise started, and from then on, he took over the league. What's crazy is that his three-point percentage has been above 40% from 2009 to 2021, where he had a slight drop to 38%, which is also great for the league standards. During the 15 and 16 season, he shot an unbelievable 50% for the entire year, which was a big factor to their 73-9 record. What makes Curry such a threat is not just his accuracy, but how effortless his shots look. He can hurt you off the dribble, pull up from beyond the screen, or utilize his off-ball movement and make you chase him around just to hit a dagger in your face. Usually, NBA shooters are good at some of those things, but no one was ever so perfect at all of them, making it obvious why he's the record holder for the most three-pointers made ever. But what really makes that record great is the number of games it took him to achieve it. At one point of Curry's career, it was just a matter of time before he'd catch up to Ray Allen's 2,973 three-pointers. Why? Because he was so early in his prime and already up there with him and Reggie Miller. It took Curry only 789 games to beat Ray Allen's record, while it took Ray 1,300 games to set it. Reggie Miller had 1,389 games played, making 2,560 three-pointers. So you see why Steph was way ahead of them in terms of efficiency. If shooting legends like Miller and Allen were not on the same level as Steph, is there anyone among the active players who could potentially threaten his record? The closest one is James Harden with 2,795 threes, but now that Curry is at 3,496, it's very unlikely Harden will ever touch it. Damian Lillard is next with 2,449. Then it's LeBron with 2,314 and Klay with 2,272. As you can see, Curry is safe up there with nobody reaching his floor anytime soon. It will take someone really special to break this record, but if we're being realistic, there's a possibility that kind of a player never steps onto the NBA court. What Curry has done over the last decade looked like a video game at one point, so unless someone can shoot the same as in 2K, Steph's record is staying untouched, probably forever. That's it for today, dear friends. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have an interesting perspective on the NBA records mentioned, make sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you don't miss out on more NBA stories by hitting that subscribe button. Until next time.